The story begins with a young woman feeling out of place at a social gathering. She turns to the boy next to her, inquiring about his studies in the science department. He mentions that he's an applied physics student but adds dismissively that she probably wouldn't understand even if he explained it. She thinks he seems decent but is put off when he asks if she is from a different faculty and then immediately asks for her Instagram ID, suggesting they go out for drinks sometime. Annoyed, she declines, noticing his inappropriate gaze. Her friend intervenes, asking if she ever talks to guys at all. Explaining that the party was organized specifically for her to meet someone genuine, the friend insists it's a mistake to judge people based on their departments, suggesting they could at least make some new friends. The girl, skeptical, questions if this is really how things work. Her friend, exasperated, insists it is and walks away. Reflecting on the situation, the girl realizes that even though she dressed modestly, it has not changed how she has perceived. She wishes people would not judge her solely by her appearance. In her mind, relationships should be about enjoying each other's company, meaningful conversations, getting to know one another, and naturally falling in love. She yearns for a normal relationship. Just then, a boy sits down next to her and gently asks if she's okay, suggesting she should inform the organizer and head home if she is not feeling well. She appreciates his concern, reassuring him that she is fine. Thinking he seems genuinely kind, he inquires if she belongs to their faculty. She explains her hope to meet someone new at the party. Noticing his gaze is straight ahead, she believes he is not interested in her. They continue talking casually, and he points out a guy standing nearby, who is at the top of their class and popular with the ladies. She wonders if he is serious about discussing this, but he admits he doesn't know much about the guy and is only at the party to even out the numbers. Curious, he asks why she decided to attend a party full of science majors. She responds that she does not care about their reputations, but internally admits she is quite flashy. She hopes to meet someone honest who will see her for who she truly is. He considers her words and nods, saying that is a good mindset. Introducing herself as Nakaju Ichika, she asks if he often attends these kinds of parties. Sanari Kosei admits he does not, usually spending his time holed up in a lab. She expresses curiosity about his research, prompting him to share more, but he suggests changing the topic, not wanting to bore her. She tells him that just because she does not understand does not mean she is not interested in listening. He concedes it's a long story and suggests they leave it for another time. Shifting the conversation, he asks what she usually does in her free time. She reveals her fascination with paranormal videos, which surprises him. Excited, they exchange details about their favorite channels, shaking hands over their shared interest. After the party, Ichika mentions she has never talked so much with anyone before. He smiles, admitting he can get intense in conversations and jokes that she was talking at double speed, which he found a bit overwhelming. Slightly irritated, she asks if he was put off by that, especially since they were having such a good conversation. She thought she would be going home feeling down, but thanks to him, she ended the night on a positive note. He asks if she came with a friend, and she says her friend should be out by now. Gently caressing her face, he points out a stray strand of hair and fixes it for her. She thanks him laughingly, and he looks momentarily startled. Just then, her friend arrives, apologizing for making her wait. He says goodbye, telling her to take care. On the way home, Ichika's friend asks if they exchanged contact information, which makes Ichika feel a bit uncomfortable. Her friend wonders if they share similar interests. Later, at home, Ichika finds herself chatting with Sanari and reflects on how they have only been texting since that day. Considering asking him to hang out, she feels unsure how to approach it, wishing they were in the same department so they could see each other more often. The next day, while Ichika is busy writing notes in the library, Sanari unexpectedly taps her on the shoulder, smiling. Startled, she asks what he's doing there. He notes that since they both go to the same university, it's not surprising to bump into each other. Sitting down across from her, he begins texting to adhere to the library's rules. She notes that she's never seen him in the library before, and he explains that he's tackling a difficult assignment. She jokes that he is not dead yet, and he laughs, agreeing through text. Ichika is glad to see him again and contemplates suggesting they walk home together. Noticing him staring at her, she returns his gaze blankly, thinking this must be what Sanari looks like in school. Then she gets a text from him, mentioning she is staring too much, asking if there is something on his face or if his clothes look weird. Embarrassed, she quickly texts back that she was just spacing out. He replies that he gets nervous when she stares at him like that. Blushing, she responds that she will focus on studying instead, wondering if she always acts like this. He then inquires how long she plans to stay in the library. On their way back home after university, he inquires if she lives nearby. She confirms, and he comments that it must be convenient to have so many places close by. Noticing her demeanor, he checks if she is all right. She laughs and reassures him, though she didn't expect him to suggest walking home together and feels a bit on edge. Suddenly, a boy walking by makes a silly comment about her. Sanari looks at her blankly, and she tells him it's all right. He asks if it's tough to handle such things. She admits that being approached in that manner sometimes ruins her mood, explaining her self-consciousness about her height and her insecurity about her appearance and personality. She shares how she used to avoid standing out but eventually realized making a drastic change was not so bad. That is why she no longer cares what strangers say about her. He smiles, telling her it is because she is confident and can hold her head high. Thanking him, she asks if the topic was awkward for him. She adds that no one usually pays attention to such things. Joking that if she were shorter, she would probably be more approachable, she feels her height makes her seem intimidating. He looks at her thoughtfully and disagrees, saying he does not find her intimidating at all. Curious, she presses if he really thinks that. Suddenly, he pulls her clothes, muttering about a passing cyclist. Checking if she is okay, he comments that being close to her makes him feel shy rather than intimidated. Playfully suggesting that being tall is not so bad after all, she looks at him blankly and then holds his arm. Just then, he receives a call and apologizes, making her feel awkward. She says it's fine, and he explains he needs to head back, mentioning a friend's house close to school. Apologizing once more for not being able to walk her home, they wave goodbye. Ichika thinks it might be too soon to admit she likes him, but wonders about his reaction if she told him. She regrets not just coming out and saying it. The next day in the lecture room, she texts him to see if he is free for dinner after school. When he doesn't reply, she assumes he might be busy. Suddenly, her friend appears, asking if she is still in touch with Sanari. Ichika responds affirmatively. Her friend mentions hearing that Sanari has been quite active at social events lately. Ichika laughs it off, questioning the nature of such news. Her friend explains that someone from the party mentioned it and advises her to keep that in mind. Smiling, Ichika reassures her friend, confident that everything is fine. She adds that Sanari didn't give off that impression, thinking he probably just sees her as a friend. She can't imagine anything happening between them and considers it a misunderstanding. Suddenly, she receives a text from Sanari, agreeing to hang out and mentioning he will be free after the 5th period, asking about her schedule. After university, she sees him from a distance, talking to another girl who hands him a bag, saying she hopes to see him later. Approaching, Ichika apologizes for keeping him waiting. He smiles and waves at her. Noticing a hoodie in his bag, she asks why he has it in the middle of summer. He explains he left it at a friend's place. Ichika then apologizes for her earlier comment and asks if he has a girlfriend. He clarifies that the girl is just a friend. Teasing him, she says the girl did not seem like just a friend and asks if they are close enough for him to take her to school. He clarifies that she lives nearby, so there is no need for him to drop her off. Ichika asks if he has feelings for the girl. He pauses before saying no, explaining he only hangs out with girls who can keep things casual. Ichika spaces out for a moment, sitting down on a bench. Realizing this is exactly the kind of guy she should avoid, the type who casually dates multiple girls, she thinks back to when he doubled back after the library, realizing he must have been heading to that girl's place. Feeling disappointed, she can't even hear him when he says her name. She berates herself for not seeing this sooner, realizing she was not even on his radar for something serious. It feels like she got rejected before she even had a chance to confess. Done with guys like him, she had no idea he was that kind of guy. She jokes that maybe she should play around a bit too. He sits next to her, asking what she means. She laughs, saying that despite her looks, she is quite serious and lacks the charm to pull off being carefree. Maybe there's not anyone out there who will truly like her for who she is. Looking down, she feels disappointed. He tells her she is cool and tough, but also straightforward, advising her to stay true to herself. Placing a hand on her head, she looks up, blushing, thinking to herself that he is being so unfair. Abruptly standing, she decides to head home. There is no point in feeling down, she is over it. Changing the subject, she asks what they should eat. He notes her high spirits, and she jokes that she could eat at least 10 burgers right now because she is having a mental breakdown. Laughing, he agrees to indulge her, and she ponders what to eat. Watching her, he smiles, wishing for her to keep smiling. She looks at him, wondering if they can still be friends. thinking she is never going to fall for a guy like him, then blushes and says, "Forget it." At a restaurant, Ichika and Sanari place their phones on the table, watching paranormal videos together. The video host speaks to their audience, promising to venture deeper into the unknown next time. Sanari comments on the video's scariness and asks Ichika to wait, mentioning he didn't catch the last part. Ichika, confused, realizes she thought it was the same person in both photos but suggests there might be a clue in the abandoned building next door. Sanari agrees there are many clues in the video, making it hard to follow. He proposes watching it from the beginning again. As she stares blankly, he receives a notification and begins replying to it. Curious, she asks if it's from a girl. Sanari admits a girl keeps playing with him, which he finds irritating, joking about cursing her with a lifetime of blisters. Ichika playfully calls him the worst, and they both laugh. She reflects that it's been a few weeks since she felt rejected. As they leave, Sanari yawns, prompting Ichika to ask if he's been getting enough sleep. He mentions a busy shift the previous night. She inquires if he's tutoring at a cram school, reflecting on their casual hangouts, which have involved studying, watching videos, and chatting about random topics. She asks if his students are adorable, to which he responds affirmatively, but notes they can be a bit scary at times. When she asks why, he explains that his students can be pretty blunt. Leaving the restaurant, they notice it's raining. Ichika mentions she has an umbrella, and while opening it, comments that despite his fear of kids, she bets he's a great teacher. She compliments him for being calm while explaining the video to her. As she smiles at him, Sanari grabs the umbrella, caressing her hand in the process, and thanks her. They share a moment of eye contact before Ichika suddenly pulls her hand back, asking him to stop doing things like that. Confused, he asks if she means holding the umbrella. Disappointed, she confirms and thinks to herself that they're just friends after all. On the walk, Sanari notices her sighing frequently and asks if something is troubling her. She responds with a simple nothing. The next day, Ichika, looking disheartened, asks her friends if they can introduce her to a nice guy. One friend is surprised and asks if she's finally looking for a boyfriend, while another offers to introduce her to her boyfriend's friends. Ichika, slightly awkward, thanks them and expresses her appreciation. Her friend then comments that there's no guy who fits all her preferences perfectly, to which Ichika responds that she doesn't really mind anymore. Her friend, curious, notes that she was very enthusiastic back in school and wonders what changed. Blushing, she struggles to explain, admitting it's tough and she had no idea. Her friend observes that she never really knows a person until she talks to them, adding that she's relieved Ichika didn't fall for Sanari's toxic schemes. A bit taken aback, Ichika asks what her friend is talking about and pretends not to know about Sanari. Her friend clarifies, mentioning the guy from the mixer. Ichika insists that there's nothing going on between them and they're just friends. Suddenly, she stands up, making a fist in frustration, exclaiming that she wants to fall in love, wondering how long it's been since she broke up with her ex. Her friend laughs, referencing the cheating ex-boyfriend, and Ichika agrees, realizing that's why she gets so worked up over pointless stuff. They cheer each other up with a high five. At the university the following day, her friend suddenly grabs her hands, telling her they need to find her a boyfriend. He believes that as long as she's not too picky, she'll find one quickly. Ichika, confused, states she wants to be picky, but he dismissively tells her to shut her mouth. Later, while sitting at a canteen in a park, he notices that Ichika looks slightly different than usual. She explains she has plans afterward and is surprised he noticed. Reflecting on a chat with her friend, Ichika recalls being told it might be too much and wonders if the boy would freak out if she turned out to be different as they got closer. Her friend had laughed, saying she'd have to see for herself and consider it a marketing ploy. Ichika admits she's not used to it herself. They exchange a blank look before Sanari returns to working on his laptop. Curious, she asks what he's working on. Sanari mentions he's preparing handouts for his job, and she expresses surprise, noting she didn't know teachers prepared all the materials for cram school. He downplays it, saying he just prefers to make things easier for the students to understand. She finds this admirable and comments that he's a good teacher. She recalls a girl from middle school who had a crush on her cram school teacher, which makes Sanari laugh in disbelief. She then tells him she heard people call him Uniqlo behind his back, which she finds amusing and wonders what it means. He jokes that despite his hard work, he's doomed to be stuck with a silly nickname. They share a moment of eye contact, which makes Ichika shy, causing her to lower her gaze. He notices her dress and asks if there's a special occasion. After thinking for a moment, he asks if it's a date. Ichika confirms, revealing that her friend set it up and lent her the clothes. She adds that she doesn't even know what the boy looks like and doubts things will work out, but figured she would meet Sanari at the very least. She internally questions why she sounds like she's making excuses. Sanari, while working on his laptop, casually comments that it sounds nice, which makes her feel like he couldn't care less. She wonders if she wants him to care about her, but insists to herself that it's not like that. She then tells him that from what her friend's boyfriend said, the boy seems nice, so maybe there's a chance it will work out. Sanari remarks that he's starting to feel a little nervous. Ichika smiles, saying that if she gets a boyfriend, she won't be able to meet him as much. He looks at her and states he's sure she would have more fun with the boy than with him. Ichika understands and thanks him, smiling as she says she better go now. Sanari smiles back, telling her to take care. As she gets up, Ichika thinks about what she was hoping he would say, feeling foolish and humiliated. She angrily mutters to herself about her foolishness, and when he gently squeezes her hand, she spaces out momentarily. She quickly pulls her hand back and apologizes, saying she has to go. On her way to the date, she keeps replaying the scene in her mind, feeling uncomfortable. She wonders why he squeezed her hand if he's not even interested in her. Desperately, she sits down on the path and forces herself to stop thinking about it. Upon arriving at the meeting place, she snaps herself out of it, telling herself to quit dwelling on something so pointless. She doesn't want to think about Sanari. At the station later, she receives a message from Sanari asking to meet. She wonders why he wants to see her and asks if he needs something. He hands over a bag, explaining she forgot it. She thanks him but says it wasn't necessary to bring it right away. He mentions it was on the way to his job, so he thought he'd hand it over. Disappointed that he doesn't ask about the date, she thinks he's acting the same as usual and wonders if he's pretending the date never happened. Eventually, he inquires about the date and how it went. Ichika, momentarily confused, recalls the date. She remembers approaching the boy and greeting him. The boy looked at her for a moment, then asked about her height. She responded that she's 170 centimeters. He laughed and said it's totally fine, and he's not bothered by that sort of thing. He guessed she was pretty, so it's fine, adding that he's glad she doesn't mind but asking why she seemed uncomfortable. Ichika then tells Sanari that the boy was kind of rude but overall nice, though she didn't feel like they were on a date. Curiously, he asks if that's true. She furiously replies that since he asked, she answered, and at least he could try to show some interest. When he doesn't respond, she angrily says she gets it. He looks gloomy as well. She stares at him for a moment, clenching her teeth, then turns away, ignoring him. She mentions that her friend went out of her way to set them up and even lent her clothes. He curiously asks why she would wear different clothes, and she explains it was a marketing ploy. He questions what she means by a marketing ploy, and she rudely replies that it's something refined and classy, the stuff that appeals to guys. He tells her that he likes her the way she normally dresses, adding that her current outfit isn't bad either, but he prefers her usual style. This makes her blush and feel uncomfortable. He adds that's exactly right. She asks him to wait, questioning what he means by that. Confused, she asks if there's something to be mad about. She thanks him and walks away. He jokes about her being embarrassed, and she tells him to be quiet, stating she's going home. They both smile. Ichika gets flustered by the smallest things, realizes she really needs to find someone soon. He teases her about her preferences for clothing, and she interrupts, saying he did compliment her. Confused, she wonders how many times she has to try until she finally finds the right person. He looks at her and asks if having a boyfriend is really as good as people say. She expresses her thoughts, saying it's nice to be liked by someone you like. He looks blank, prompting Ichika to ask if he understands. He thinks for a moment, then comments that people who say things like that probably struggle to get a boyfriend. She confirms this multiple times, and he adds it seems desperate. She tells him not to laugh, but he can't help himself. He smiles, watching Ichika smile too. She looks at him and notes that it's not a big deal, and he doesn't have to force himself. He remarks that she seems to have more fun with him. Ichika, thinking to herself, realizes that's the problem. She doesn't want to fall for him. On a sunny day in the park, Ichika finds herself lost in thought, her emotions in turmoil. She doesn't want to admit it, but she's beginning to fall for Sanari. The realization makes her uncomfortable, and she can't help but question why, out of all people, it has to be him. She's been so careful with her heart after her past experiences, first with her high school boyfriend, a soccer club ace who seemed perfect but left her with a broken heart, and then with her university boyfriend who betrayed her trust. These memories of failed relationships have made her wary, leading her to wonder if she's simply incapable of having a successful relationship. Desperation sets in as Ichika resolves not to develop feelings for Sanari. She wants to maintain control over her emotions, not letting herself get hurt again. But as she waits for him in the park, her resolve begins to waver. Sanari arrives, his face lit up with a warm smile upon seeing her. Her heart races, betraying her resolve, and she feels a blush rise to her cheeks. In an attempt to cover her feelings, she awkwardly comments on the heat of the day, realizing how self-conscious she has become around him. He greets her with his usual cheerful demeanor, handing her a drink and casually mentioning how hot it is. Ichika stares at him for a moment, caught off guard by the simple act of kindness when suddenly 2 girls call up to Sanari from a distance. He turns his attention to them, engaging in a brief conversation. Ichika watches them, feeling a pang of discomfort and the stirrings of jealousy. Once the girls leave, Sanari turns back to Ichika and apologizes for the interruption, explaining that the girls are from his class and were discussing the upcoming summer seminar. Ichika nods, her mind racing with thoughts of the summer break. She realizes that if he's busy with work and seminars, they might not see much of each other. This realization fills her with a sense of impending loss, a subtle but undeniable distance forming between them. She sighs softly, contemplating whether it would be strange to invite him out if he's going to be busy all summer. Sanari, sensing her concern, mentions that he didn't attend the seminar last year. Ichika, seizing the opportunity, suggests that it might be fun for them to go together. Her heart pounds in her chest as she waits for his response. To her surprise and delight, Sanari immediately agrees and invites her to join him, causing her to blush furiously. She asks hesitantly if it will just be the 2 of them, and when he confirms it, she eagerly accepts. The thought of spending time alone with him during the summer fills her with both excitement and anxiety, and she can't help but wonder if this would count as a date. Sanari reassures her that they will still see each other during the break, even with his cram school lessons. His casual confidence in their continued meetings makes her heart flutter. Ichika can't understand why he's so certain they will spend time together, but his words fill her with hope. She decides to let go of her doubts and enjoy the moment, telling herself that it's okay to be happy about this special summer event with him, even if she's not entirely sure what it means for their relationship. As the day of the summer festival arrives, Ichika dresses in a traditional yukata, hoping to make a good impression but feeling slightly self-conscious about her appearance. She worries she might have gone overboard with her outfit. While waiting for Sanari, 2 boys approach her, their presence making her uncomfortable. They ask if she's waiting for someone, and she forces a polite smile, unsure of how to respond. Just as the situation grows tense, Sanari appears and steps in, asserting that she's with him. Ichika feels a rush of relief and gratitude, her cheeks flushing as she watches him handle the situation with such ease. His protective gesture leaves Ichika flustered, and when he compliments her on how she embodies the summer vibe, she's unsure how to react. She wonders if it's truly a compliment or just a casual remark, but decides to take it in a positive light, buoyed by the festive atmosphere. As they navigate through the bustling festival grounds, Ichika is struck by the large crowd and the noise surrounding them. She notes how different it is from her usual quiet routines, and for a moment she feels overwhelmed. Seeing her discomfort, Sanari tries to lighten the mood with a joke about the crowded station. Ichika, distracted by the noise and chaos, doesn't quite catch what he says and asks him to repeat it. As he turns to speak to her, they find themselves standing close, their faces mere inches apart. The sudden proximity makes her blush deeply, and she quickly apologizes for her clumsiness. Sanari, seemingly unfazed by the awkward moment, smiles and suggests they explore the various stalls. They wander through the festival, playing games and sampling treats. At a shooting gallery, he demonstrates his skills, hitting several targets with ease. Ichika watches in awe, clapping excitedly when he succeeds. His playful confidence makes her laugh, and he teases her about his accuracy, showing off his skills. When he misses a shot, she can't resist a gentle ribbing, declaring that she's going to beat him. Taking up the challenge, she tries her hand at the game, with Sanari guiding her on how to aim properly. Despite her best efforts, Ichika doesn't manage to hit the target, and they both burst out laughing at her failed attempts. The shared laughter eases the tension between them, and they continue to enjoy the games, taking photos and making memories. At one point, Sanari notices Ichika holding a box of sweets and remarks on her self-control. She confesses that she doesn't really eat sweets, much to his surprise, and he offers her a taste of a sponge cake. Ichika hesitates for a moment, caught off guard by the intimate gesture of him feeding her. She declines, feeling flustered, but can't help watching as he eats the last piece himself. The casual intimacy of the moment makes her acutely aware of the distance that still exists between them, the line separating friendship from something more. She wonders if she can ever cross that line, if she can become someone truly special to him, or if this is destined to be a one-sided love with no future. As they move through the festival, Sanari seems to be having a great time, his enthusiasm infectious, but Ichika can't shake the feeling of uncertainty that has settled in her chest. They reach a crowded area and Sanari, noticing her discomfort, holds her hand and leads her to a spot by the fence. The simple act of holding hands makes Ichika's heart race, and she feels a mix of emotions, nervousness, excitement, and a faint hope that maybe there is something more between them. Standing there, Sanari remarks that they seem to have come full circle. Ichika, feeling self-conscious, looks away, unsure of what to say. He mentions that he had a lot of fun today and admits that he might feel a bit lonely if she were to get a boyfriend. His honesty catches her off guard, and she realizes how much his words mean to her. She wants to believe that maybe she has become special to him. She considers that maybe just being friends isn't so bad after all, finding joy in the little things, and continuing to keep this slow, one-sided love going forever. As they stand together, the weight of her feelings becomes too much to bear. Ichika knows she has to take a chance to express what has been on her mind and heart for so long. Summoning her courage, she holds his hand and feeds herself what he is eating. She reflects on forgetting about all the worries and hesitations. Finally, she expresses her thoughts and asks him to be her boyfriend, asking him to notice her more. She wishes that the power of summer might create a future for her love, a future where her feelings can finally be reciprocated.